The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find. The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style.
Well, hello and welcome to the Big H Podcast. My name is Mike Hayes, and joining me today is Director of Communications of the Hilton Central School District, Mr. Dave Yates. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. How you doing today?
It's great to have you. I remember you from high school. I remember from watching you on Channel 8, and it's great to have you in the Hilton Central School District. Let's just start off with what was your day like today?
Today was a lot of Mondays are kind of I tend to keep them a little open to try and catch up on things because like Friday afternoon after work, I went and took pictures of modified basketball here at Quest, and then Saturday morning, I went up to Brockport and took pictures of the hockey team playing out there. So I had a few things like that to catch up on, but there was also some other kind of, getting ready for an event that the district is having next month. I was prepping some social media posts and things like that for that, and just kind of going over the social media stuff, I like to try and get things done as much in advance as I can. So if something comes up that I have to kind of react to, I'm not kind of scrambling to take care of the other stuff. So Mondays are kind of that type of day for me. I try and have a little more openness to them and not really schedule too much, but sometimes it's unavoidable. There's always something different going on every day, and it's what I love about this job.
So your title is Director of Communications. Tell us a little bit about all the responsibilities with print media, video media, and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like, the utility infielder, right? Yeah, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I kind of, do video, do photographs, do the website, do handle press relations, handle all the social media, all that kind of stuff. And just try and do it in a way that reflects the school district and the community in the most positive light as possible. Having grown up here and having gone to school here, it really means a lot to me to make sure that Hilton is seen and perceived and is reflected in as most positive a way as possible.
Well, I see your pictures and things like that on the website, and they're really great.
Thank you.
And pictures like that. You took over for Grace Schism. I think, when were you appointed and when did your official duties take off?
I started on April 15th. I always remember because it's tax day. So that was my first day. So it's an interesting time to come into a school district because there's an awful lot going on. You're kind of getting that transition from, you're really getting into the end of school where stuff is really starting to pick up. The end of the school activities and the events are starting to really gear up for the senior class and all the other classes. So, and plus the budget vote is coming up, would be, a month after that. So having been through that before, it was kind of interesting to see the similarities and the differences to how the district I was at before did things and how things are done here. And now I've got that under my belt. Now it's kind of, I have a familiarity with it and can kind of, I have a foundation to build on for this year with that kind of stuff. The thing I remember, my first day on the job, actually, varsity baseball was playing down at the varsity field right behind my office here at Quest. And so I figured, well, you know what? I'm just going to, end of the day, great way to end my first day. I'll go out and I'll take pictures at varsity baseball. And I walk on the field and there's Ori Me, who I have a hard time calling Ori because he was always Mr. Me. He was my JV baseball coach. He was my gym teacher. And it was like I walk on the field and there he is. And it was just great to see him. And Hilton goes out and had a combined no-hitter that day. So it was like, okay, this is a really good way to, maybe it's a sign that this is where I belong.
Yeah, it was an honor of Dave Yates. We'll get into your high school career, which did play baseball. Cool. You referenced a little bit about some of the experience you took from other districts. I know you worked in McQuaid and East Irondequoit. Talk a little bit about your positions there, how they prepared you for Hilton, and maybe even the differences from community to community.
Well, it is. I mean, East Irondequoit that's where I lived, and my kids went to school there. So I was, it was again, I think it was really important for me because I had that connection, not just as an employee and as an administrator in the district, but I was also representing my family and I was a taxpayer in the district. So to be able to kind of, any questions that came out of that vein, I could answer I looked at it from those different lenses. And I think that provided me with a really good perspective that made it more meaningful for me to kind of get the message a lot like I do here. That's one of the big similarities, I think, is having a connection to a place, like having, living there and having my kids there and it meaning East Irondequoit, having that special meaning to me at that time of my life was really important to make it more than just a job. It was something I was very passionate about. And that's kind of the same way being a Hilton graduate and having grown up here, it really means a lot to me to be back at this district and to be working here. McQuaid was a great experience. McQuaid was totally different, being a private institution and being so small and just, only boys there. And just having just middle school and just high school in the same building, everybody knows everybody. Everybody, when you're walking the hall, hi, Mr. Yates. I mean, it's just one of those things. At East Irondequoit, I went from being the camera guy to being Megan's dad I went from camera guy to Mr. Yates to Megan's dad to Ian's dad, then back to camera guy after a little while. Because once my kids graduated, I kind of lost that connection to the younger classes. But it was just something that in time people would they'd see me at something and they'd appreciate the fact that I was there and they were getting the coverage and that kind of thing. So it's something that, I like to be seen, and I like to be at as many things as I can. Sometimes it drives people crazy. It can drive me crazy because I want to be as much as I can and I can't be. And it's that gets frustrating at times, but I've learned over the years that I've really got to find that balance of doing my job and doing it well and also taking care of myself. I mean, and that's something that, when you get the age that I am, you come to appreciate more than you might have before.
You referenced your son and daughter. Talk a little bit about them what it was like when you were in their district working, and then what they do for their career and their families now.
My daughter Megan is living out in Springfield, Missouri right now. She is a speech language pathologist at a hospital. She's getting married this coming September. She'll be getting married in Chicago to her fiance, who's a gastroenterologist at the same hospital she works at. They've got a great life right now. They got a great life ahead of them, and I can't wait for them to take that next step in their life. It's just they're just wonderful together, and it's so great to see her so happy with her fiance. And she was the athlete in the family for me. She was a very good soccer player, and then her junior year in high school, she tore one ACL, and then the following summer, she tore her other ACL. So she went to Ithaca, and she was going to play soccer there, or at least try to, and the coach was interested in her. But then once she tore her ACL, that kind of derailed her freshman year. She tried out her sophomore year after she'd gone through rehab and everything, and just her body couldn't keep up with what her mind wanted her to. But it's funny because she was so committed to the program and so like she showed the coach so much that the coach offered her position on the team as basically um, an undergraduate assistant type thing, or where she was invited to be with the team and practice with the team and be on the bench for all the games, just as because it meant so much to her. And she did that for a little while, but she decided that the focus on her academics was more important, so she turned to that instead. Graduated from Ithaca, then went to Michigan State and got her master's degree, and went from there to Arizona for a year, back to Michigan and East Lansing, where she worked at a hospital, and then now she's been out there for about a year now. My son is Ian, and he graduated from Syracuse. He was a drummer. He was in marching band. He was in the theater. He's very involved in theater. Was in all the musicals and plays at the high school. Still does a lot of amateur theater around town at like Blackfriars. And is very passionate about it, and very he's very good at it too. I mean, not to be modest, so he's definitely his niche. He's in his element when he's on the stage for sure. And he is a teacher at Harley. He teaches earth science. He's been there this is his third year out there, so he loves it. He loves the again, I talk about McQuaid being small and Harley's even smaller. I mean, they eat lunch together as a school. He loves the camaraderie of that and kind of the family atmosphere of that. And he likes the small class size. He can basically make his own instructional program as long as he runs it by the head of the school and they okay it. He can pretty much set his own itineraries for what he wants to do. So he's come up with his own classes, and he started running a forensic class and things like that. And so he's really he likes being able to kind of do his own thing to a point. And it's funny because I always used to, I think back, I started my TV career in Elmira, and my boss at the time had kids in school, and his wife once said to him, you spend more time covering other families' kids than you do your own. And that kind of stuck with me. And so when I had a chance to be working in the same district with my kids, I would, I loved highlighting them. I love spotlighting them, but I never tried to, I would make a conscious decision if I had pictures to put online or something like that of sometimes not using my own kids because I didn't want to be accused of playing favorites and that kind of thing. And it's a fine line though, because I mean, my daughter was the best soccer player on her team. And so when she's the one who's the standout soccer player who's got the ball and doing the most with it most of the time, it's tough not to highlight her. Same thing when my son's got the lead in the play, it's tough not to highlight him. So it was it was a fine line sometimes to try and balance, but I try to do it as well as I can.
It sounds like you really had some well-rounded kids there. I just want to go back to your daughter. So she's a really strong soccer player. She has dreams of playing in college, and then she suffers some knee injuries. What was it like as a dad watching your daughter go through that? How did you help lead her through those days of pain?
I still remember her after her first, I always say it's like, I carried my daughter off the soccer field twice on my back, and it was some of the most difficult times I ever had. I remember waking up the next day after her first ACL, and I woke up like it was a normal day. Then all of a sudden, it's one of those things that kind of hits you like, oh my God, that happened yesterday. And to watch her rehab I think she put her head down and put herself into it like she did with everything else. And her determination to get back to where she was, I took her to rehab almost every session. I would drive her there and I'd stay and watch her do her things. And I remember I was so nervous with some of the, you trust the physical therapist who's working with her, but at the same time, the first time she gets on a treadmill and he tells her, okay, you can run, try running. You're thinking to yourself, she's not going to be able to do this. Her knee's going to buckle. And then it goes from that to doing a one-legged jump on the bad knee. And you're thinking, this isn't going to work. It's not, but they've got it down to a science, literally. So it did work. And the first time she played again, I was a nervous wreck. And but she made it through like a trooper. And she, her senior year, she played great. It was great to see. And so it was a bond that the connection that we had that was really special. Being a former athlete myself, that it was really nice to connect with her over that.
You have a son who's musically inclined in drama and stuff. What was it like watching him perform in those musicals? Because while you're on stage, maybe he's going to forget his lines, maybe he's going to be off key. How was that as a dad?
I compare it to I imagine it's like watching your son be quarterback, where all eyes are on him. And, in any musical, there's always that one song with one scene and one note that's going to carry the show, right? I mean, he was the lead in Singing in the Rain. And they did the stage up with where he's swinging on the lamppost, the water's coming down while he's doing that dance, and watching him do that, and just oh geez, I hope he nails it. Hope don't slip, don't do everything where you're just all the worst possible scenarios are running through your mind, and when he gets through it, you're just like, okay, phew, we can breathe now. It's and to see it, I don't know how he does it. The respect that I have for people that can get on stage and do that, and to, between the dancing and the singing and remember your lines and everything else, I have no idea. You think about memorizing a playbook in football, and it's it's kind of the same thing. It's like how do you just make that connection? But it's something that he's definitely. It's a natural born talent for him, and I'm just so glad to be able to see it.
So let's go back to you and your college experience. I know the last time we spoke, you said that you went to Fredonia.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your Fredonia experience, the TV experience, the journalism you had there, and how it took off.
Yeah, I went to Fredonia, and it was, I went there and was gonna play baseball. I wanted to be on the baseball team there, and I went and I tried out, and I actually made the team. But I also was selected to work on the newspaper staff for in the sports department at the college. And I figured, well, thinking long term, where am I going in baseball? And maybe by doing the right thing, what I thought at the time, and staying with the newspaper and doing something that would help me in my career. So I passed on playing baseball and worked as the sports editor at the paper, and loved it. I mean, it was so much fun to be able to do that. And from that, I made connections, and the one thing I liked about Fredonia was I knew when I got there, as a freshman, I was going to be able to be a part of the student television station as well. So I started working with them and started doing that. Whereas other schools that I looked at, you'd have to wait a couple of years, and you really couldn't get any hands-on stuff until you were probably a sophomore or junior at the earliest. So I decided that was Fredonia gave me that opportunity to do that. So decided to take that route. And through that, I set up an internship at Channel 8 here in Rochester for a summer. And that was the summer of my junior year going into my senior year. And they had an opening for a weekend sports producer at Channel 8. And the guy who was the weekend anchor said, would you be interested in doing it? Well, Fredonia is 2 hours away. So I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? But at the same time, I'm like, it's a foot in the door in television. The opportunities are few and far between. So I'm going to take advantage of it and see what comes of it. So I spent my senior year at Fredonia driving 2 hours every weekend, either leaving Friday afternoon or Saturday morning and coming back here to work at Channel 8 Saturday and Sunday, and then driving back to Fredonia. But in the meantime, I got an internship in Buffalo at Channel 2 in Buffalo on Monday and Wednesday. So I would blow off my Monday classes and drive from Rochester to Buffalo, do my internship till 11:30 at night, and then go on to Fredonia and get back about 1 o'clock on Tuesday morning, and then do the whole thing over again. So that lasted for a while. I eventually dropped the Monday part of my Buffalo internship just because I was missing that many Monday classes was not a good idea. So I would do the weekend thing, and then I'd drive to Buffalo on Wednesdays and do the internship there on Wednesdays. But the Rochester turned into, they kept me on, and the guy who was the weekend anchor here was losing his job. They decided not to renew his contract. And so an opportunity came up for a job. He saw a listing for a job in Elmira, and he goes, "It's too small for me. Why don't you give it a shot if you want to?" So I did. I got the job, and still I remember when I was, on cloud nine. I had my first job, and the profession I'd always dreamed of doing. And so I called my dad to tell him, and dead silence on the other side of the line. He goes, because I told him how much I was going to be making. He's like, "You can't get any more." I had no concept. I didn't care. I did not care about the money. It was just I had a job, and that's all I cared about. So yeah, and then was there for a while. Actually came back. I got burned out after a while because it was a tough, not a tough spot. It was a lot of fun, but at the same time, it could be a bit of a grind, and you get to a point where you're like, I don't know if this is going to lead to where I want it to lead. So I came back here and went to Brockport, was going to get my education degree, wanted to become a social studies teacher because I've always loved history, and I thought that would be something that I had a passion for, and I wanted to pursue that. But I still had the bug. I hadn't gotten it on my system, and so after a while, I went back to Elmira and in the exact same job, and that turned into eventually a job here at Channel 8 opened up again, and I came back up and was there for a while as the weekend sports anchor.
Your career, do you obviously practical experience, internships is something that you would highly recommend to someone who wants to get into business, correct?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and it's not as much what I learned at my internships, it's the people I met that ended up creating the opportunities for me, I think. To get my first job, if I wasn't at Channel 8 as an intern, I never would have heard about that. I was at Channel 2 because the guy I worked for in Elmira had I knew about when I was at Channel 2 doing my internship. One of the guys there was friends with the sports director in Elmira, so I had a recommendation from him that so it all kind of, it was a very small community kind of thing, and it was just a small circle that people kind of who knew each other, I could kind of relay, hey, do you know so and so, and bang, they would, and the connections. I think that is probably more important than, because as an intern, you're not really going to get too much hands-on stuff. You'll get to learn stuff and do stuff, but it's when it's getting to know people and meet people and build relationships with them that they, if something comes up, it's like, hey, I had this intern once, see if he's available, that kind of thing. So I think that's the real payoff to an internship for in a lot of respects. There it is. Yeah.
Can you hear me now, Dave?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Yep. I got you now. And there's no echo either.
What's that?
There's no echo like there was before either.
All right, well, we'll continue on, and I think there's ways that I can edit stuff out and
Okay.
splice it back together. We were talking about internships. We had that. Oh, Brockport State. I was asking you about that. Can you still hear me?
Yep, yeah.
Okay. You were thinking about going back and being a social studies teacher. Did you ever take any college courses, or you just bypassed that and stayed in the teaching?
I've actually finished off my history degree. When I was at Fredonia, I had a history minor, and so I was pretty close to it because of the credits I had racked up there. So I finished off my history degree, but did not take any education classes. I never really got into that. I didn't take that step towards becoming a teacher.
Did you have a particular interest in any particular type, like American history, European history, or anything like that?
Big American history fan, big Civil War fan. Just I just and it's always been the kind of the personal stories that have appealed to me more than the overall strategy and that kind of stuff. I just I like knowing about like the little, not really trivial stuff, but just kind of the behind the scenes. Like the more personal it is, I think the more connection it has always had for me.
Have you made trips to Pennsylvania?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been to Gettysburg. Been to as many as I can. So um, it's something that's always felt kind of, I don't know where the connection comes from, but it's always been kind of like something that's always appealed to me.
So earlier you were talking about when you made a phone call to your dad and told him about your first job and big pause. Tell me a little bit about mom, dad, and any siblings that you had.
Well, both my brothers also went to Hilton. Chuck was older than I was, and my brother Mike younger. Chuck is a doctor and living in Lockport right now. Mike is working IT out in Victor. He lives in Irondequoit. Um, both were it's we grew up on Burnt Road, just down from Zarpentines. Um, my dad he used to have a sporting goods when Canning Street Square had shops. He had the ump was in there, and he still has a booth out at Liberty Hollow on Bridge Road in Spencerport where he sells sports memorabilia. My mom just recently passed away, which was it's been it was about a month or so ago. It's been kind of rough, but it was one of those situations where it was the time had definitely come, and she was ready, and we were ready, and we were all with her when she passed. So it was I mean, I guess the best of a bad situation. So it's strange, not when you lose a parent, it's kind of it's all of a sudden you automatically think, oh, I should call her right now and tell her about this. And then the second thing, oh, geez, I can't anymore. And I came towards the end, I came to appreciate the people who say, when you get that chance, when, there's a country song now, I think, where it says, when your mom calls, your dad calls, don't say, I'll call you back, or, anything, take the call, because you never know, for sure.
Well, my condolences on the loss of your mom, and I hope your dad is doing okay.
He is doing good. Yeah, he's keeping busy, so that's the important thing.
So let's go back to those Hilton days. Describe the year that you graduated, maybe some of your classmates. You were also a pretty popular dude. Don't shy away from telling the viewers what Dave Yates was like in his high school years.
Well, I think I might have been popular, but probably not popular with the faculty and staff, because I think I was a little bit on the wild side. But I mean, I always looked at it as I really enjoyed my high school years because I feel like I made the most of them. I enjoyed, I don't think I missed a varsity basketball game as a fan when I was a student. I think I was at every one. We painted our face half red and half white, and spelled out Hilton on the t-shirts in front of us, and we got rowdy, but we weren't rude, I don't think. I mean, I guess
not rude. I like that.
I like to think that's how it was. We had fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun. and I went to, we didn't even have a hockey team, but I would have been in every one of those. But my friends wrestled. I went to a whole bunch of wrestling matches. I'd spend when they used to have the Clayton Barner tournament that was 2 days up there. I used to spend the entire day on Saturday at I just couldn't get enough of it. And I think I threw myself into everything, maybe not academics, but as much as heartfelt as I could have. I was senior class president. I was, played baseball and football, and just kind of, I enjoyed it. And I think I took advantage of as many opportunities as I could while I was here. And I think that really, a lot of people when they first leave high school, I genuinely missed it when I left. It was a good time for me, but I also felt it got me ready for what I needed, and as a person and as a student, it really, I left feeling satisfied and like I wasn't disappointed in how I spent my high school years.
So baseball, weren't you a catcher?
Yep, sure was. Still am. I am. I still play wooden bat hardball adult league. Yeah. We play all over, out in Brighton where Brighton Varsity plays. We play Genesee Valley Park, sometimes out at Brockport State, just different diamonds around. There is a league of probably, I want to say it's 12 teams or so. And we play mostly on Sundays, and some Sunday mornings and some Wednesday nights. And just, it's a lot of fun because I just, having been a catcher my entire life, there's nothing else that, playing softball, there's nothing that compares to it. It just doesn't hold the same. There's not the constant action and constant, they call catching equipment the tools of ignorance, but I think there's not too many positions in any sport where you really have to think as much as you do when you're a catcher. You've got everything in front of you. You've got to read everything. You've got to, try and predict what pitch the guy's looking for, all that kind of stuff. So it keeps my mind sharp and keeps my body sore.
Right line. Body sore. So you come back to Hilton. What do you found special about the village of Hilton School District community?
The relationship between the two. And I think it's something that it almost has an old time feel to it that you don't get from a lot of school districts. I saw it, the 4th of July parade, and then homecoming parade, to have homecoming go right through town, and to have, just so many people involved and so many people watching it. And it's so genuine, and I think it's very unique these days to see the cooperation and the relationship that the community and the school district has. And it's really, I think it makes it an extra special place that I don't remember it from my time in high school as being like that. I don't know if we even paraded through downtown then. I wasn't, I was playing football, so I was at the field getting ready. But just to see the way people come out for the school district and vice versa, the school district's there for the community as well is just really special.
And I think what's nice about your role now is you get to capture all of that.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Football banquet, you put a nice video together for the kids. And I see you all over the place, not just sporting events. You got to be a busy guy. But you're subtle in your action. It's really, really good.
I appreciate that. And I like to be able, I never want to be, I'd rather be a fly on the wall and just kind of, I don't want to be obtrusive. I don't want to be in someone's face. I want to be able to, nothing's better than, I remember this one time I actually, for the School Public Relations Association, I took a picture of a kid. This was when I was in East Irondequoit, and it won an award for me. The kid was like dressed up for, I think it was, I can't remember what day it was. But he was dressed in like 1930s garb or something like that. And one of the comments in the photo was, you know, if you're gonna pose a photo like this, use better lighting. And it was a candid photo. And to me, that was like a really big compliment because I got a photo they thought was posed, but was actually candid. And I 100%, if I can get those shots where a kid is just being himself, doesn't know I'm there, and doesn't, I don't like people looking directly at the camera. I want the ones where they're involved in something. So if I walk into a classroom, the first thing I usually say is, I don't want pictures of you looking at me. I want pictures of you working. I want you to, and the teachers love that because that's what they want their kids to keep going. Because I don't want to, I know I'm there and I can be a disturbance, and I don't want to be that. I want to be part of the classroom. I want to just kind of blend in. And a lot of times I'll walk into a classroom if I've got to get pictures of something specific or a project that the teacher's doing, and I'll just sit back for a couple of minutes without my camera and just sit there and just kind of get them comfortable with me being there. And then I'll start taking pictures when I feel the need is that I need to. But I don't like being interference because, I mean, teachers like yourself and everybody else, that's what we're here for, and the students. And I'm just kind of I'm on the periphery as much as I can be.
Recently, the Hilton Central School District has developed 4 cadet intentional values: people first, lifelong learning, integrity, and welcoming and affirming. How does your role help encapsulate those 4 intentional values?
Well, I think it's, everything I do, I try and include, if, it subtly and sometimes not so subtly. If you notice in the insight that just came out, every article has one of those intentional values attached to it. There's a reason that it's there. There's a reason we're highlighting that. And, I think another great thing about this district is you can talk the talk, but are you going to walk the walk? And I think Casey is one of those people that he genuinely is determined to walk the walk when it comes to those intentional values. Everything that he does, it's not lip service. He puts his heart into it, and he's trying to. We're trying to make Hilton a better place, the district a better place, and in turn, kind of those around us a little bit of a better place. And I think those four intentional values go a long way in doing that.
Anything on Dave Yates' bucket list he hasn't done yet?
There's a lot. I mean, I haven't been to Europe, and that's one of the things that is I'm going to take care of in the near future if I can. My brother and I were actually talking about not only the Civil War, but I'm also a World War II buff. We want to go to England and take the crossing over to Normandy and see the D-Day landing sites and kind of see those kind of things. Haven't been to the Grand Canyon. I want to do that. Just, some of the national parks. I'm actually looking into going out this spring to Utah and doing, some of the 5 that are there, Zion and those, and just kind of just get out and do more like that, and not, I'm getting to that point in my life where, the things where it's, what are you waiting for? Well, it's like I'd love to have that bucket list checked off as much as I can when when I get to the point of kicking it.
It sounds like a lot of that history
Yeah.
that you had.
Yeah.
What's your favorite leisure activity?
Believe it or not, taking pictures. I know it's they say, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. Well, that's not true, I don't think, because it's still work. And, but I really enjoy being able to capture something that, is unique or has a different look to it. A few years ago, I was out at Webster Park, and sun was setting, and I see this lady going by on a paddleboard, and she's got her dog on the paddleboard. And so I just waited till she was silhouetted against the sunset, and I got the picture. And it's, you know, and I have a camera where I can download the picture right to my phone. And she came out of the water. I said, I got this picture. I'd like to share it with you. And I was able to share it with her. And I really like being able to do that. I love being able to get pictures and share them with people. And that's one of the reasons I love taking pictures of the kids around here, because I want them to see themselves highlighted. I want their parents to see pictures of them doing things that they normally wouldn't be able to see. As a parent, we miss so much of the everyday that's happening in schools, and things behind the scenes that you might not be able to appreciate. And to be able to share something like that, if it makes somebody smile, if it's something that they can share with their grandparents, then, I've done something good for that day.
How about a favorite food to eat or prepare?
Oh boy, I love to cook. I'm trying to be better about what I eat, because again, you get to that point where it's like, you realize the effect that, eating bad can have on you. So you try and do better. I love seafood. I love cooking it. I love, I think seafood is probably my favorite type of food, across the board.
Any favorite movie of all time? Two or three of them?
Depends on my mood, without a doubt. Gettysburg is one of my favorites. I think it's just, it was so well done. I read the book, loved the book, and just the way they did it, I think was absolutely spectacular. I remember I saw it in the theater. That's how old I am. And I remember it was so long. There's an intermission in it. Which when's the last time you've been to a movie with an intermission? And then, once baseball season rolls around, The Natural and Field of Dreams are two. I try and, it's almost like Christmas movies for me. I try and watch both those right as opening season comes around, and just absolutely love those. So those are probably some of my favorites.
Favorite book?
It's funny, because we did pick this up from before. I'll spoil it for people, and we talked about that, and afterwards, I just read A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, which is one of my favorite Christmas stories of all time, and I never read it. I've seen probably every version of that movie, of that story in movie form, but I never read the actual book until this Christmas, and it was such a fascinating read, just to kind of compare that to the movie versions, and see the similarities and dissimilarities, and how they did differ. And actually, the book that Field of Dreams is based on is a book called Shoeless Joe. And it's an incredible book. And it's got, again, similarities to the movie, but there are some differences to it that really make it, if you like the movie, you can read that and not feel like, oh, I know this story, because it's different enough that it's still enjoyable to read. I like to read some, it depends, again, like with the movies. If I'm on vacation, I usually go for the lighter stuff, like, kind of the mysteries and that kind of thing. And, the David Baldacci and those kind of books, that kind of stuff. I just started reading a book called The Bloody Mohawk, which is about the French and Indian War in the Mohawk Valley in the New York region. So it's a localized history book, and I'm just getting into it, and it's a step above reading a textbook. So I think I'm going to be okay with it, because some of the history stuff can get pretty dry. So we'll see.
You have a favorite quote? Like, sometimes I don't read a lot of books, but I remember the quote.
I think one of the things that I've always kind of, Robert Frost, the Road Not Taken, is, I always think about that when I think about my life in general, and just kind of, my philosophy. You're always faced with decisions that you have to make, and depending on the decision you make, you might be able to get back on that path again, or it might lead you in a totally different direction. But that's, making those choices are what's making the difference in your life, and in your world. And I think, trying to think through them and trying to be as conscientious about what choice you make, and it is just huge. So I'd probably say that, and just in case, that was something when I was in television. It was something that I used to write. This is how old I am too. We used to actually record on videotapes, cassettes in the cameras for television, and I used to write that on the top of the tapes, JIC, JIC. And there was one time when I was working in Elmira, and I worked as a videographer there as well. And they used to have an LPGA event called the Corning Classic. And I was sitting there, and the other TV station was there as well, this one par three. And they're waiting for the lead group to come through so they can get highlights of them hitting their approach shots. Well, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, just in case, I'm going to shoot everybody teeing off, right? Sure enough, about three groups before the leaders, someone gets a hole in one. And the other station was just sitting there, and they looked over at me, and I had it. And it was, ever since then, I was always, just in case, I'm going to do this. Like, I always would, at the end of a basketball game, no matter what the situation was, I wouldn't leave before the end of a quarter, because I didn't want to miss a buzzer beater. You never know. Somebody could throw one in from three-quarters court. I want to have that. And that's kind of how I still do things. If I'm at a basketball game taking still pictures, I can switch my camera to video just by throwing a switch. And I'll do that for the last 10 seconds of a quarter, because getting video of someone doing that is a lot more exciting than getting stills of someone doing that. So it's just little things like that. I don't want to be standing there when something like that happens and someone say, "Did you get that?" No, I didn't. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, just in case.
Yeah.
Last question, then we'll wrap up. If you could have dinner with anyone from history, alive or dead, who would it be?
I'll go back to my Civil War things and say Abraham Lincoln. I think just, he was such when you look at what he had to deal with and the complications that it was a very complicated time, obviously, but he had so many different factors coming down on him, and to try and navigate that and try and, the decisions that he had to make, and the path he had to take to do what he felt was right. It's really fascinating. And I just think he always, in reading about him and reading his writings, he's always fascinated me. It's always been, he had a tragic life. He had he had a horrific death, but it just was, to be able to talk to him, I think would be absolutely fascinating.
So you graduated from Hilton, you come back from Hilton. If you could give advice to a Hilton High School senior, what would it be?
I would say to just, I think one of my big issues now is that instant gratification thing, that people just want things immediately. People expect, because of social media, whatever, instant responses, instant this, instant that. Just kind of soak it in, just, and think things through. Think about, the decisions you make and the consequences, and the domino effect that can have for you and others. And just sort of, and just kind of really appreciate what's around you, and don't take it for granted, and really, really kind of, like I said, soak it all in as much as you can.
Well, Dave, I've really enjoyed getting to talk to you more on this podcast. We had to do it twice. So I think
Twice the fun.
And I also appreciate you coming back to your roots in Hilton and probably living out the last part of your career.
I would think so.
This has been Yakking It Up with Yates. Look forward to future podcasts with guys like Jeff Murphy and Jason Green. can follow me on Rumble and X at Michael Heiss 17 or on Spotify at the Big H Podcast. Dave, we'll see you around the gyms. I'll say hi.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right.
Looking forward to it, Mike. Take care. Bye.
The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find